Hello and welcome to the Big Black American Secret. Today I want to take a minute and talk to white America, and specifically non-racist white America. It's important that I talk to you because I'm seeing a lot of things that are being done. A lot of folks are kneeling with Black America to pray with them and getting on your knees and asking for forgiveness to Black America. Putting chains and things around your neck to show that you understand what Black America has been going through. Writing Black Lives Matter on a lot of things, and I even saw the street where the White House, down the street from the White House, where it's BLM, Black Lives Matter. Now, all of these things, I'm sure, comes from people's hearts, and they mean well. But at the same time, I have to tell you that it's really just symbolism. And while it gives you a warm feeling on the inside, and you feel like, man, this is good, people are all together, it's empty, and it will not move the needle to ending the negative effects of racism from the lives of Black people. So I'm going to need all my white non-racist friends to get off your knees and please walk or run to the White House. And if you can't walk or run, please use your social media platform, the telephone. Get in touch with Donald Trump and let him know that here is exactly what Black America needs to solve this problem. We no longer have confidence in our police department. We no longer have confidence in our government. And we don't have confidence in Donald Trump to protect his citizens or its citizens. He took an oath, I believe, to do just that, and that is not being done. So here's what I need you folks to do. I need you to pressure Donald Trump into demanding that all murderous cops of innocent people get first-degree murder charges and quick convictions. Right now, presently, the cops that need to have first-degree murder charges and first-degree convictions quickly are the 4 cops that killed George Floyd, and all of those cops involved in Breonna Taylor's murder, who, from what I understand, have not even been charged. People, it's very important that you understand where we're at right here in history. And it's very important that you be on the right side of history. I'm saddened in my heart to have lived through hearing rumors of the Watts riots. I personally lived through the episode of Rodney King, and my people, Black Americans, were very relieved that episode was caught on video. We believed it's finally, hey, people are going to witness all of the negativity that we've been dealing with at the hands of these brutal police officers in our neighborhoods. Finally, there's evidence, eyewitness account of what has been going on. And that's what caused that riot in California after the verdict, when those cops got off for beating Rodney King the way they did. We couldn't believe that the world saw the evidence for themselves on video, and the cops walked. That hurt Black America. That left a scar so deep, because we believed that once enough people saw the evidence for themselves, justice would be done. And here we go, so many years later. We have video evidence of this cop with his knee in the neck of George Floyd, pressed there until he died. We all witnessed that. And immediately, the news arm, the propaganda arm of racism, white supremacy, which is the news, put out false reports of what happened. Well, I do apologize. They did report it, but the police department gave the false report. But they published it. Immediately, all organs of the government went into their own code, and it immediately went to protecting the image of the police officers. Initially, the police officers were simply put on paid leave until further notice, which is the exact MO. Every time cops kill innocent people, they get a vacation and they get no punishment. Well, folks, that's never going to happen again. That's never ever going to happen again, because we want everybody, especially our white Americans who are not racist, to pressure Donald Trump to do the right thing, which is bring first degree murder charges and swift convictions to these murderers. Again, they are no longer officers of the law. They were fired. They violated their oath when they took a life, an innocent life. So if you feel like you owe them some member gratitude, well, no, they violated that. They're no longer members of the Boys in Blue. You understand what I'm saying? Listen, they have to be made examples of. America has to set a new precedent. It will no longer put up with the cops killing innocent people, and especially black innocent people. So anybody who you feel is an influencer, people you can call, and especially call Keith Ellison, the one who's handling the Ahmaud Arbery, I apologize, who's handling the case in Minnesota. In fact, his phone number is 1-800-657-3787. Again, 1-800-657-3787. And pressure him. First degree murder charges for all of those cops and a quick conviction. Okay? But especially Donald Trump. And the reason Donald Trump has to be put on urge and on notice is because he is the leader of the free world. That's what we call him. Okay? But right now, the government is harboring murderers. The government is acting in the capacity of terrorists on the black community. Now, I'm gonna tell you a story. This is a historical lesson, and it's 100% factual. When the Pilgrims were here in the colonies, they were subjects of the Crown of England, operating here in America, just living their lives, doing what they can to make a living for themselves and their families. But England was acting tyrannical. They had soldiers over here who were raping and murdering their subjects. And the subjects were not getting justice. England's ears were closed to the injustice, and they weren't hearing it. So the subjects here in England started burning ships and boats, pouring tea into the Boston Harbor. You've heard the story. That sounds like a little rioting, a little looting, correct? They got fed up. And still, no positive results. The Pilgrims armed themselves, and at which point, they became citizens. They fought England. They won their independence, and they are now America now is the strongest country in the world. America, you are now at the same place England was hundreds of years ago. Black America are the colonists. But our plight has spanned 528 years. We've been under a racist, terrorist regime called America for 528 years. Now, again, Trump needs to be urged to have those cops put up for first-degree murder with quick convictions. We live in a democratic society. We live in a democracy. And in a democracy, what that simply means is majority rules. Whatever the majority of the people want That's what the majority of the people will have. When we vote, the majority of the people get together and they vote for one person who's going to represent them politically. That is an example of the democratic system. Here's another example of how the democratic system works. Oh, and by the way, when the democratic system works, it encompasses the legal system. You understand what I'm saying? When you do something democratically, it's considered legal. That being said, here's another example. During Jim Crow South and segregation, a black man is accused and put in jail for a crime. He is quickly apprehended, put in jail, and he awaits a trial. The town gets together and decide there will be no trial. We're going to be the jury and the judge. They go to the police station. They say, Officer Bob, turn that nigger over to us right now. Officer Bob is outnumbered. He has no choice but to grant the demands of the crowd. They take that black man, hang him, burn him, take photos while smiling, take burnt body parts and distribute them and pass them to their friends, and those pictures become postcards. That's an example, a harsh example of democracy at its best. Now, that is exactly what has to happen for these officers who have murdered innocent people, and especially innocent black people. They have to be made a public example quickly in order to set a new precedent in the United States and for the world. They have to be made examples of. And that is the only way to restore public trust in our police departments nationwide and our government as a whole. The United States puts itself out to the world as a shining example of democracy, freedom, and justice. Back here at home, black American citizens are subject to the racist regime of racism. We do not feel the justice or the freedom that America boasts to the world. And that has to change. It has to change immediately. And right now we are at a pinnacle, a very pinnacle point in history. Okay? That is Plan A. Plan A, first-degree murder charges with swift convictions. Plan B. Plan B is a place nobody wants to go. Plan B should not even be considered because it does not make sense. But it has to be discussed because it will become a reality if Plan A is ignored. And here's Plan B. Well, first let me tell you this. Tell you another little history story. 528 years ago, the year 1492, Christopher Columbus came to the Americas in the Bahamas, and he enslaved the Aboriginal people there. At that point, war was declared on the Americas. That war was solidified May 4th, 1493 by the Vatican Roman Catholic Church by way of Pope Alexander VI. He signed a decree named the Papa Bull, which gave Spain the power to colonize and enslave the Aboriginal Americans in the Americas. He also gave colonial powers to Portugal to colonize the west coast of Africa, specifically Sierra Leone. Now, that being said, war was declared on the Americas and its native peoples, the Aboriginal Americans, in 1492, 528 years ago. If America does not decide to make examples of these officers, these murderous officers of innocent people, by handing down first-degree murder charges and quick convictions, war will be redeclared on Black America. And Black America stands ready to answer that declaration of war with millions of armed citizen fighters prepared to die, defending our right not to be killed like dogs in the street with rabies. Prepared to die. Millions of us feel this way. And we will carry it out. We do not want to. Ever. We do not want to do that. Black Americans are the most patriotic people on this planet. We have fought in every war in these United States of America. But we're the most hated, the most mistreated, the most disrespected. But we're the most patriotic. It's undeniable, and you cannot question that. America, my friends, my non-racist white Americans, please urge your chief to do the right thing. In fact, it's only the law to please just abide by the law. He says that he is a man who is about law and order. He wants to uphold law and order. And he believes all lives matter. Well, here's an opportunity for him to prove that. Because these criminal men, these monstrous, murderous men, have turned their back on the law. They turned their back on the blue brothers, the brothers in blue, and they've killed innocent citizens. They do not deserve the protection of the United States, and they do not deserve the protection of the police force. It's a crime against humanity, and it needs to be met with first-degree murder charges and swift convictions. This is the only way to set a new precedent, and this is the only way to restore public trust for not only the police department, but for the United States government. Now, getting back to my story. Christopher Columbus, 528 years ago, declared war on the Americas and the Aboriginal people of America. Now, everything I'm telling you can be Google searched. Everything I'm fixing to tell you right now is a simple Google search. Christopher Columbus described the people he saw when he came here. Every explorer described the people they saw when they came here. The people who came before Christopher Columbus and the people after him. In your home or near you, search in your pocket. Find yourself a 1-cent penny. If you're Black American, try to find something that matches the back of the color of your hand. And put this in your Google search bar. 1828 definition of American. 1828 definition of American, and that will give you the description of the people Christopher Columbus saw when he came here. That definition is from the year 1828. That definition has been hidden from not only the world, but from America for a reason. America has a deep secret, a deep dark secret, that has been in cahoots with all the European continents with. And that's why this has to end today. Okay? Again, Google 1828 definition of American. So Christopher Columbus started enslaving the Aboriginal American people. There were 94 documented Indian wars between the year of 1540 and 1923. Whereas our history books told us Indians didn't do too well with slavery. They fought. They died off early from blankets that were contaminated and all these other lies. But no, our people were immediately enslaved and we fought 94 Indian wars for the sole purpose of collecting slaves from 1540 to 1923. Again, Google search. Our people were not slaves from Africa. That's the lie. The transatlantic slave trade was a cover for America and all the other European continents that were here enslaving our people. They quietly colluded to cover that up. Now, again, 100% Google searches. If you think I'm lying about the transatlantic slave trade, simply Google the International Indigenous American slave trade. It took place at the same time, same length of time that the transatlantic slave trade took place. Again, the transatlantic slave trade was a cover for what really went on. Our people didn't come from Africa, enslaved in Africa and brought here. No. Our people were enslaved here and taken to every continent on this planet, especially West Africa. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you this because, and again, let me add this as well. The Indians, who were supposed to be the natives, the nation's first people, those people are simply Mongolian, Asian breed of Eskimo that came across the Bering Strait 12,000 years ago. And this, again, Google search. Paleontologists have documented this very well. My people have been here since the beginning of time. We are aboriginal to this continent. Just as my brothers in Africa are aboriginal to the continent of Africa. Just as my brothers in Australia, the black Australians, are aboriginal to Australia. You understand what I'm saying? We are the aboriginal people here of America. We built the pyramids in South America. Those pyramids are larger, older, and better built than any pyramid in Africa. My people are the precursor for that technology. Please understand what I'm trying to tell you. Please, please do not let this fall on racist ears. Do not hide your ears from this truth. Everything I'm telling you can be simply Google searched. Now, war was declared on my people in 1492. If our demands are not met, first-degree murder with quick convictions, then America, racist, white America, would be re-declaring war on black America. And that war, that declaration of war will be met with millions of armed citizen fighters prepared to die defending our right to not be killed or murdered in the street like dogs with rabies. Again, Plan B. If our demands are not met, these officers made public example of and a new precedent set that it is not okay to kill black Americans in the street like dogs with rabies. That's a big no-no. Big announcement may need to be made, and that announcement comes by way of first-degree murder charges with quick convictions. No negotiating, period, point blank. You understand? Now, redeclaration of war. My people are armed. There are millions of us armed citizen fighters. And we are prepared to die. But we will take millions upon millions of our open enemies to the grave with us. This is not a war we want. And this America is not a war you can win. Please choose wisely. You shouldn't even consider this option. This option shouldn't even be thought of as, you understand what I'm saying? Okay? Everything I've told you so far can be Google searched. America, you've been lied to. You've been viciously lied to. Racism is not a joke. It's a horrible lie. In fact, there were no white people in America until after the Bacon's Rebellion. There were no white people in America until after Bacon's Rebellion. What do I mean? Surely there were white people here. Well, there were people with white skin. English people, German people, Irish people, Russians. Yes, they were here. But they weren't called white. They didn't call themselves white until after the Bacon's Rebellion. Bacon Rebellion was an uprising where poor black people, Aboriginal Americans, got with poor white people, normally Italian, Irish, the people that England sent over here to help work and treated like slaves. Yes, the Irish and the Italian were treated like slaves. Their conditions were so horrible that they got together with the Aboriginal people here, and they uprose against England. Hundreds of white people died. And the aristocrats, the rich people in England, decided they could not have this happen again. So they figured out, what can we do to not have this happen again? So here's what they did. They elevated white people to the level of, they elevated Europeans to the level of white people. So now, white people encompasses all the European people. Black people are now lowered. After your indenture contract is up, which is a work contract for hire, 7 to 10 years, and again, all of this could be Google searched. Black people, European people, work for hire. A lot of them had contracts for hire. Those that weren't straight out chattel slavery. They had the same work conditions just about as white people and everything. But after Bacon's Rebellion, they were elevated a little bit above black people, pretty much in name only. After your contract was up, white people were allowed to buy guns, buy land, and be educated. Whereas black people, once your contract was up, you couldn't buy guns, you couldn't buy land. You were considered a nigger. Now these people who were treated just the same as them are feeling a little better about themselves. They've fallen prey to the system of racism, white supremacy. I'm better than you now. You understand what I'm saying? And that's how it works. They were brought into the club. It's pretty much the same effect of being in high school and being accepted by the cool kids. You no longer want to hang out with your old friends. They beneath you now. You understand what I'm saying? So, that being said, no one wants a war, and it's not even necessary. But black America is fed the fuck up. We now know what's at stake 100%. We will not be going back to the way things were. Ever. Ever. And again, everything I just told you can be Google searched. People have tried to hide all of this information for hundreds of years. But that's the thing with being within the fullness of time. And right now, time's up. Time's up. So, white America, this is an open letter to you, specifically white, non-racist America. There are but two choices before you. Urge Donald Trump to quickly enforce first-degree murder charges with quick convictions, or accept, or black America has no choice but to defend our rights to not be killed like dogs in the street with rabies. We must arm ourselves and fight for that right and that freedom. And again, America, that's not a fight no one wants. That's not a fight you should even consider. And it's a fight that America cannot win. It should not even be considered. We need to be a shining example again to the world that America does not condone racism, that America is the home of the free and the brave. And we stand for justice and equality. I'm going to be honest with you. I have confidence that this can be done. And I stand on that confidence. But at the same time, I stand ready. I stand ready to fight and to die for this, because it's important. If anything I've said to you sounds shocking and unbelievable, then good, you're human, because it should. Because I'm sure this is the first time you're hearing this type of shit. But again, I've told you nothing that's not in a Google search. You understand? So, that being said, I want you to subscribe to this channel, like this channel, and share. Share with everybody you know. Let's get this word out here. Let's get let's do this work. Let us together save America from itself. Let us work together to save America from its own racist hate. Now's the time. Tomorrow can be the brightest future for all. We all just have to do the right thing. And the right thing is, law and order is important if it's fair and equitable. And we can make it fair and equitable tomorrow by giving these cops what's exactly lawful and equitable, which are first-degree murder charges with quick convictions. That would turn America around immediately. And that's exactly what I'm hoping for. But I am prepared for the worst. And my people are prepared for the worst. I speak for millions of people. How do you know this? Have you had a meeting with millions of people? No. I'm a black man. And when George Floyd was murdered, with that guy's knee in his neck, I was murdered too. So, you talking to a dead man. Me dying don't mean shit to me right now. I ain't the only one feel this way. Please understand that. I want to live again. I wish to live again. I wish to smile again. I have not slept well since that man died or was murdered. I have not slept well. I wish to sleep again. I want a bright future for my children and your children. And I believe we work together, we can achieve this. America has always been a wondrous place, a beautiful place, and it could be that again. But there has to be some massive changes take place. And I think we're ready for them changes. Please prove me right. Please prove me right. And on that note, I'm going to end this video and hope you do the right things. Remember to share, subscribe, and like.